welcome to the More Revenue Roundtable. We'll go ahead and get started. Probably be a few others still joining. We'll get them the recording if they missed some of the first part of this, but appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. My name is Breck Rice. I'll kind of be your navigator through the presentation today. Some fantastic information that we have to share with you, and looking forward to hearing more about some of the amazing services. I got to tell you, I've been working with community pharmacy for over 20 years now, and I absolutely love our community pharmacists and how hard they work and everything they do for patient care. And I started to see some closures. It made me really sad, and so that's why I wanted to see what else could I do to help. We obviously ServRx is a work comp claims processor. We'll cover that real quickly at the beginning here, but I think most people know what ServRx does, and we're happy to do that and help any way we can, make sure that pharmacies get fair reimbursements. But it's only maybe 1% of all the claims volume, so there's a lot more that I felt like I could do to help our pharmacy. So I launched these roundtables, these community pharmacy new revenue roundtables, just to help see what other ways we could bring solutions to our pharmacy partners to help them generate more revenue. And I've got to tell you that a lot of things are presented to me, and I turn down 10 things for every one that I look at, so or accept and allow to come into the roundtable. One of those today is the majority of the time is going to be focused on the clinical services, and so apologies to some of the product folks that are here. There's some amazing products. If we have time, we're gonna get to that, but we're gonna cover two main things first before we get there. So again, Breck Rice, one of the co-founders of ServRx, and absolutely love community pharmacy. Do everything in my power to help you be successful. And so, like I mentioned, the problem here is that we've seen so many of our pharmacies close or sell their files for pennies on the dollar to the chains. And this report by Fortune, talked about how many of the independents had closed. And the main reason is from the poor PBM reimbursements. Back when I started 20 years ago, profit margins were 36%. Today, only 3 to 5%. How do you keep your doors open only, making 3 to 5%? And then you put on top of that the crazy DIR fees, the direct indirect remuneration, that has increased by over 91,000%. The example here is a gallon of milk costing over $3,600. Let's put it even in scarier terms. I did the calculation of how much it would, this type of inflation would cost me to fill up just my car with a tank of gas, over $70,000 for a tank of gas, just to put it in perspective. So how are pharmacies supposed to survive when the deck is totally stacked against them? Again, makes me completely sad to see some of the closures. Pharmacies that have been around for 80 years, other pharmacies 106, they will not even see 107 years because they had to close their doors. We are partnered with all the PSAOs, and so I get the updates of store closures. There was even another one this morning that I didn't get to add to the slide in time, but another pharmacy that's closing tomorrow up in Wisconsin. So every day it seems like I'm getting these updates. It truly is sad. So I am a firm believer that I feel like at least 1/3 of revenue needs to be generated from non-dispensing programs. So you need to be able to get over 1/3 of your revenue where it's not dependent on what the PBM is going to pay you. And you can see the breakdown here of obviously our supermarkets do a great job of this because they have all of the front end grocery items and everything else. So our independent owners need to start looking at, okay, what are some solutions? And like I said, I've identified a couple that I think are amazing, and want to share those with you today here. So when I was a little boy, I played some Pee Wee League hockey, and so I've always been a big fan of Wayne Gretzky. And when he was interviewed, what made him such a great player, this was his famous quote: that he skates to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. And so it's the same kind of the philosophy that I have, that if you keep doing what you've always done and expect a different outcome, that's the first or a definition of insanity. And that's kind of the status quo with our community pharmacies. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're eventually going to be like that list of pharmacies there. And we want to help you so that you don't become one of those fatalities. So I'm going to share real quick, just a quick explainer video about the ServeRx program, because I think most of you are aware of it. If you're not using it, it's totally free to use. But here's just a quick little explainer video on that.
An injured worker comes into your pharmacy. What do? Do they have a PBM card? Who is their carrier? Will I have to make a bunch of calls to find out? Will I get paid? And if I get paid, will it even cover the cost of the drugs? Don't worry. Just send the claim to ServeRx. They will do all the work, guarantee payments, and you will even make more. Less work and more money. What do you have to lose? You are probably already contracted through your PSAO. All you need to do is enroll. www.serverx.com.
Normally, I have Will Shaw from my team here to go through this. Unfortunately, he's at the dentist this morning. We were on an outing yesterday, and he was just simply chewing a piece of gum and lost a filling. So you know how that is. I got to get that replaced right away. So he's unable to be here today, but wanted to share with you. Again, I think one of the biggest risks for community pharmacies today is just the status quo. Keep doing what you've always done. This is one of those programs where you can bypass the PBM. If you're contracted with PBMs like, Optum and Express Scripts, obviously you need to honor those contracts. But 1/3 of all workers' comp falls outside of those big PBM networks. They're self-insured employer groups. And so you can see here samples. These are actual reimbursements. Meloxicam, the PBMs are paying you only $4 and $5 for medication you should be getting over $90 reimbursement on. And so like the video says, it's totally free to enroll. You're already contracted through your PSAO with us. We are the preferred third-party provider with all of the PSAOs. And if you're not working with a PSAO, we do direct contracting as well. One of our clients is on this call today that we just do a direct contract directly with them. And we realize that it's only 1 or 2% of all the claims volume, but it is something you can go out and actually market to physicians and focus more on this. We've even partnered with a marketing firm, GRX Marketing. A lot of you know who GRX is. If you tell them that you are a partner with ServeRx, they'll actually give you 20% off of their fees. So you get a discount. And we always see about a 14-15% increase in claims volume when you market the service. Now, why would you do that? Well, some pharmacies have been able to open even a second location based off of the revenue that's generated just from these higher reimbursements from workers' compensation claims. So please reach out to us if you're not enrolled. Get enrolled, and let us help you generate more revenue. Okay, so want to move on to a lot of you have seen communications going out about how to generate revenue even in your sleep. And this next program is that program that allows you to generate generate more revenue. And it's through, you know, it happens to be one of those PBMs, but this Capital RX is actually one of the more favorable PBMs. So you're already contracted with them. Why not get a rebate back off of their transaction fee? And that's what the MyRx Spark program initially does, is actually gives you a couple of dollars back. So not only are you getting your cash price, which is what Capital RX's rates are about at, but then you also get a revenue share back of a couple of dollars per transaction. That's peanuts, right? But the program that they have put together actually generates about $50,000 or $60,000 per year in passive revenue, and that's through the online store and web portals. So most of our community pharmacies only make a sell when your store's open. So between 9 and 6 or whatever your hours are, that's the only time you have the opportunity to make a sell, and a patient has to walk into your pharmacy. This program allows you to have an online store that makes sales for you 24/7. John Casson couldn't be here today. He's the CEO of MyRx Spark. This is the same guy, his development team, the same guy that did WebMD, which we all know how successful that program is, and also Yahoo Money and a lot of other aggregation. So their developers know exactly how to set up the SEO, the search engine optimization, to drive patients to you. They're already signing up clients. They have 12 million people that are already in the network. And if you're a participating pharmacy, then whenever anyone puts in the zip code for a pharmacy service, they find your pharmacy if you're participating. So you need to get more information about this and set up a demo with John and his team. I'm going to put some information into the chat for you, and there's a little quick demo there as well that you can view. But just put the 3-step process on how to get enrolled into this program. And like I said, the online store, it's like having your own Amazon store for your products and services, and it's priced better than what patients are going to find on Amazon. So they'll use the program. So amazing program. Want to have you go more into detail with John and his team. So please just reach out to me to schedule a time, or go into the chat there and enroll with them. That'll set up a time for you to get a demo. But they customize the landing page. Your pharmacy will always pop up first at the top for any of the prescriptions that are needed to be filled. And then if for this example, if a patient is on metformin, then they use their talent in search engine optimization to also then just auto market to that patient other supplies and other things that are needed. You don't even have to carry those, like glucose monitoring kits or anything like that, because they've partnered with like Henry Scheim and other people. It'll look like it's coming directly from you and your pharmacy, but the fulfillment will all be done through their fulfillment side. So amazing program, really easy to use. And the other really cool thing is every patient that you sign up for this, they could be clear across town, clear across the country. They could walk into a chain who's not going to get this program, and they could present that they're a part of MyRx Spark. That click transaction comes back to you because they're your patient and you enrolled them. So like I said, passive revenue that's generated 24/7 for your pharmacy. It equates to about 50 or 60K per year. What I'm really excited to introduce to you today and have one of the founders here in Cody Jason Kodish goes by Cody, is this turnkey wellness. It's a clinic in a box. And so that's what we're going to spend most of the remaining time in going through about 10 slides here of what this program is and how it works. This is a part of the Team Up NCPA Team Up initiative. We're very splintered as a community pharmacy organizations. Everybody's doing different things. If we collectively come together, we are the largest healthcare network in the country. And this is the program can do that. It's a little bit like the Minute Clinic concept, but on steroids. Studies show that virtual care will far surpass in-person visits. This is way more than virtual. This is actual in-person care as well. And one example I'll just share real quick before I turn it over to Cody is you see down here in this lower corner, right-hand corner, you'll see one of my pharmacy clients did almost 10,000 flu shots last flu season. So that's all we took was just the analysis of flu shots. They did everything else too, all the other vaccinations, but I just looked at flu shots. And what they got reimbursed for that was about 167,400. So about $17 per flu shot. Once they bring that over into the Brim Clinic side of their pharmacy, a totally separate entity, their wellness center, they do the same amount of flu shots. It will generate almost $1 million in revenue. So want to introduce to you Cody. Cody comes from a tremendous background where he was one of the chief executives of the largest media company in the world, and is now one of the founders of Brim Wellness. And I like to say he's just wicked smart. So you guys need to pay attention to Cody.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Breck. So you have the slides you're going to drive, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and a lot of this builds off of where Breck had started, that notion of all the pressure on the community pharmacy, right? And at the end of the day, what we are presenting right now, what Brim Wellness, it's part of a larger healthcare holding company that we're creating, is really in service to the notion that we believe that wellness is a human right. We believe that leveraging the pharmacists, leveraging software, leveraging technology will close that gap. Doing good for people will end up doing good for the independent pharmacists. Fundamentally, the independent pharmacists generate about $94 billion in revenue a year. So collectively, you guys all have massive scale, massive scope, massive influence, and the ability to drive a lot of change in the market. But it's as Breck said, it's not all positive. While on average, there has been growth within the community pharmacies in the last year, what we're all seeing is a lot of problems, right? 98% of community pharmacies are having problem with supply chain. 85% are having trouble with workforce. Margins continue to drop. Even before COVID, we saw about 1 out of every 6 independent pharmacies in rural areas closed, right? So the question becomes, how do we replace some of the income that is being bled out for pharmacies without changing too much the operations? In short, right, our job, our business at Brim is working with the understanding that the independent pharmacies, they're a massive opportunity both for us and for the country, right? And we want to leverage you in partnership as both a target of where we are going to market, and I'll explain that in a second, but more as a partner, as well as a channel of distribution. And all of this, it follows a very simple and very profound ethos, which is driving everything that we're doing, right? That notion that wellness is a human right.
Right.
Go back down. Yeah, wellness is a human right, and that the independent pharmacies play a major role in closing the gap of providing this wellness services to the nation. If you want to go down one slide, this is the idea on a page, right? One more.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Fundamentally, there was, for all the bad, both personally and professionally, that associated with COVID, there was a large revenue stream that independent pharmacies were able to generate through COVID, right? With testing services, with vaccination services, there was a large revenue stream that was generated because of COVID. However, as America's proclivities changed and the focus on prevention and understanding and dealing with COVID kind of started to wane, a lot of that revenue stream started to wane as well. So we set out to figure out how can we replace that large revenue stream with similar high margin revenue for the pharmacies and even grow it more than that. So what we are doing is we are creating, and there's some key words here, a turnkey offering. So very simple to the pharmacy. We do all the work. A turnkey offering that sets up a physical location within your pharmacy. So the term for that is a door within a door. So it's a separate entity that you own within your pharmacy. It becomes a wellness center. It is not a pharmacy. It is a wellness center within your pharmacy. And essentially what that does is it allows you to generate alternative revenue streams, so new revenue streams, at the same time monetizing some of your current revenue streams at higher margins, right? Once implemented, what we are seeing is within 90 days, all investment is paid off. And you're able to be running these things profitably within 90 days. How do we do it? Well, I'll say it's simple. It's not simple. The first thing we do is we launch the wellness center within your pharmacy. So we literally, if you do not have a separate room or a separate entity within there, we create an 11 by 12 or 11 by 13. We have some canned approaches to that. Physical center with a separate door, a separate incorporation within your pharmacy center. We can get that set up within 2 weeks. Many of you guys already have physical locations that we can just retrofit, but we stand up a wellness center in a box. We then make sure that we certify this as a wellness center so that the billing comes through not from a pharmacy perspective, but from a wellness center perspective, right? And then we launch it in a franchise-like model, similarly named, similar operations across the country, and make sure that we can, if you can't provide the workforce to manage those, we give you tools to manage those. If you don't have the credit to fund that, we'll extend credit to get those built out. But it's 100% turnkey to the pharmacist. Who's behind this? So we have pharmacy experts, insurance experts, healthcare experts, and technology experts that are leading this with 100+ years in medical experience. What we know is that 80+% of the pharmacies that we have already reached out to and that have reached out to us and have had individualized conversations. 80% of them have already raised their hand and signed a non-binding letter of intent. There's some formatting changes here. So who is the team? So the key founders are a gentleman by the name of Michael Phillips, who has strep throat today, and you didn't want to listen to him talk today anyway. He has led many startups, has been the CEO of a large healthcare group, has acted as COO and CFO. So on the Medicare billing insurance side, he is an industry expert. I come at it from 25 years experience in data, technology, software implementation perspective. So it really is vertical expertise and horizontal expertise as well. We already have a series of advisors that are demographically, practice-wise, and geographically all varied. and have a great influence on what we are bringing to market. So this is the team that is leading us, and we are continuing to expand our executive and leadership board. Let's go to the next slide, because this is
Yeah,
where it gets really
I'll just
interesting.
mention real quick that that doctor right there in the middle, the Dr. Stephen Phillips was man, the guy is amazing. He's a heart transplant. He's retired now, but he was on the very first heart transplant team here in the United States. Worked with NIH for a lot of years. Was on the short list to run the FDA. Amazing, amazing guy. He's retired, but still totally active.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, being part of that first transplant, he was on the provider side, not the recipient side.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, right. So here's the good news is we've modeled this out financially. We actually have, as Breck mentioned, a couple cases already in market where we're seeing results. Based on certain profiles of pharmacies, we believe that in the first year, we can increase revenue for a pharmacy by about 20%, by about just over $500,000 for a large scale pharmacy. Now, the good thing about this is actually at significantly greater margin than you're doing today, because of that, the reimbursement, the revenue comes in three different areas. The first is reimbursement. So by changing the billing codes and billing for vaccination services and testing services as part of the wellness clinic, as opposed to part of the pharmacy services, your ability to monetize those reimbursement can be as much as Brett showed, 7x what they were before. And the good thing about that is that does not come with any incremental cost. So the reimbursement of those services of $276,000 on average will be able to be monetized at significantly higher margin. In addition, and I'll go over the services in a moment, we are going to introduce some new services, some incremental services through the Wellness Center. They're all wellness services to start with, and that will expand over time. But that includes things like more testing services, wellness checks, hybrid teleservices. There's a huge momentum in the market. Everything swung from in person to a huge perspective of tele. And now there's a huge momentum to make a hybrid of in-person and teleservices, which this takes care of. And what we've also seen is once introduced, this will introduce a greater sense of loyalty and bigger share of wallet from your client base. As Breck mentioned, that front of the house elements will increase as well. So on average, within 90 days, you'll recoup your investment and you'll be running an ROI in the first 3 years of 350%. Let me go through some of the details. And by the way, feel free to ask me any questions as we go along. Brett, if you want to go to the next slide.
It's on a video, so it takes just a second.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So there are three core services that we offer. The first two go together. The first one is that notion of that wellness center in a box. It is the physical build out and equipping of the wellness center. So if you don't have a exam room in your facility, we literally retrofit an 11 by 12 or 11 by 13 exam room, and that's 135 square feet. Most pharmacies that we've looked at can easily fit that and replace non-productive space with this pharmacy. It comes fully built, equipped with a treatment bed, with desk and chairs, with storage and countertops. Options include a physical working sink. If you don't have electrical, make sure there's electric, and all the materials you need for the first X number of appointments. Right. So all that is turnkey and is launched for fee. In addition to that, we then offer all the software you need across 5 different elements, right? Software for scheduling, software patients, software for scheduling providers, software to manage the services that are being provided, software for inventory replenishment, and all the software for the billing reimbursement. All of that comes as a managed service with a monthly software fee and a percentage of revenue, which still keeps your margins at extremely high levels. That is the core offering that we bring to the pharmacist. In addition, based on what the needs or desires of the pharmacist is, we can also present the talent to work shifts to do the work. Now, these are low-level wellness services, so we don't need an MD in the room. Many times we don't even need a nurse practitioner. For many of these services, they are very simple accreditations. We can walk through that at any point. But if you don't have the staff or people, we can get those staffed for you. And finally, financing and credit. If you don't have the investment capital to put to retrofitting your facility, we can finance that. If you don't have the wherewithal to accept the delays in accounts receivable or credit card transactions or billing services, we can finance those for you as well. Now, it's really important to understand we are going to market with a very specific and purposely very limited offering. Right? Within these wellness centers, 4 main categories of services, right? Vaccinations, right? These are the high reimbursement vaccinations that you are not, that pharmacies are not recognizing today because of the way that they're being billed through. So vaccination services, essentially 100% of your vaccination services move from pharmacy to this wellness center. The second element to our, to the offerings is testing services, COVID, influenza, strep, any kind of blood draws, any kind of genomics, DNA sampling. Right now, there is a rule that's passed. Any Medicare recipient 55 and up that either has heart condition or has 3+ prescriptions can get a one-time genomics testing. So we can actually do the sample collection there. So testing services, wellness services, things like annual physicals. My daughter had to wait 13 days to get into an urgent care clinic to get a physical. She had to wait 9 months if she wanted to see her primary care physician, right? So getting school physicals, annual physicals, medical for any kind of sports programs, any kind of health monitoring questionnaires, any of those core wellness services will be part of the offering as well. And finally, hybrid teleservices. To launch, we assume that the rooms will be filled with physical services between 2 and 3 days a week, right? So what we do is we fill up schedules before we open another days of services. So we'll fill up an all-day Tuesday before we'll open a Wednesday, right? In the days where we don't have physical services, we open those up to hybrid services. So teleservices, that patients would prefer to take a teleservice out of their home, which is becoming a recent trend, and doing it within these facilities so that as soon as they get those done, they can actually fill the prescriptions right away as well. So these are the core offerings that the wellness services will launch with. Very quickly on the heels, we'll include things like chronic care. So diabetes, hypertension, weight management, where people are coming in several times to manage these services. Wound care, life insurance qualifications. Right now, life insurance companies pay $70 to an independent person to spend literally 5 minutes, take height, weight, draw blood, and do blood pressure. Right? We can do those on a scheduled basis within the wellness clinics. Participation in drug trials. Right now, there's 26,000 drug trials happening in the U.S. alone, of which the number one thing that's extending them is their inability to have physical locations to do the drug trials. We can do those. Physical and stretching services, huge momentum. So right now, we're launching with the initial offerings. We'll be eventually doing the secondary offerings. How long does it take to set up? We can get a full clinic set up in as quickly as 6 weeks. But there might be some delays based on the physical, the credentialing, and all that. But we work very closely with you to get them all set up. Right now, we are only going live with about 10 to 12 proofs of concept. Once we have that ironed out, we will do a larger launch, but we are only going live with 10 to 12 pharmacies to launch. I believe we have one more slide. What does this look like for the pharmacy?
Yeah.
It's a big deal, right? In a 3-year run rate, the revenue conservatively can match about, the incremental, not total, but incremental revenue is well over $500,000, of which the vaccination services, the testing services, the wellness services, and the hybrid teleservices, almost all 75% plus margin services. So the payback on this is strong. By the way, that's $500,000 a year by the end of the 3rd year. So a 3-year pro forma for a decent size, mid-size to large size pharmacy will generate about $1.4 million in incremental revenue over 3 years. I will pause. I just monologued. I apologize. I will take any questions, comments, concerns.
Yep. If you want to just come off mute, if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can also use that live link to set up a meeting on my Calendly, and I'll coordinate and get you connected with Cody and Michael when he gets feeling better. Dr. DeMar Lewis, you have a question?
Yeah. Cody, so what is the net profit margin, I guess, going from year 1 to year 3?
Yeah. So if you look at this pro forma from a revenue perspective, year 1 should generate about $387,000 in incremental revenue, of which, as most of that will be falling in vaccination services, what the change in current pro forma to new pro forma does not come with an incremental cost. So if you're billing on average, as Breck showed, $16 for vaccination services, and that moves up to low 90s, that $74 delta becomes pure incremental margin services. So the average margin rate on these services, the incrementality, is about 70%. There are some hard costs associated with that, right? So there's the development of the physical store, there's the staffing of it, and then our fee is about 10 to 12% of the services on top of that. So the net gross, the gross margin is about 70%. The net margin will be about 35 to 40% by the time we're all said and done.
Okay, but it's still well above what a typical pharmacy would be bringing home.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, I'm gonna be basic here. One vaccination, if you're making $16 on reimbursement of that changes to 90. There's no incremental cost in that other $74. So that $74 in revenue recognition that you're getting because you're billing it instead of as a pharmacy, as a wellness center, that becomes pure margin. If you're doing 3,000 of those a year, that's $210,000 per year in almost pure margin revenue, just because the billing code change on the vaccinations. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a question here in the chat. What are the startup costs for Brim Wellness?
Yep. So do me a favor, go down a little bit. Oh, you probably don't have the slides. So I have those in a slide.
You can share your screen if you'd like.
Yeah, let me do that. So I'll share my screen.
Give you the power. You have the power now.
Okay. So there's a couple things here. So here's the hard. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Right. So if you think about this as the room configuration, essentially to build out a physical space, right? If you don't have a room right now, on average, the physical space is about $18,000 to build out. In addition, the initial inventory is another $18,000. So the bed, the computer, the desk, the storage, all the original inventory is about another $18,000. It's about $36,000 just for the room and original inventory. there's some optional elements. So optional elements like if you don't have running plumbing and we have to install running plumbing, if you don't have electric and we have to install electric, right? If you want us to handle financials, the financial or the marketing services of getting this promoted in the market, that's anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000 based on the initial inventory elements. One other cost is so 18,000 for the physical room, plus if you want to do plumbing, 18,000 for the inventory, plus if you want to do us to do marketing services. Here's the other part that's really important. The initial services and setup is about $7,500 if you are not credentialized as a wellness provider, right? If we have to get you credentialized with Medicare and the other insurance providers, you could do that on your own. You don't have to pay us to do that. But if we're doing that, we charge $7,500 one-time fee. If we're doing financial services like doing your incorporation for you, doing your contracts for you, we'll charge you what we get charged for that. One thing we will not do your legal and or accounting. So all in, the core cost is $36,000, 36,000 plus optional costs can take it up to about a $70,000 investment. And once again, we believe within 90 days, you should be able to recoup that cost just by, depending on your size, the migration of your vaccination services and the way that they're being billed out.
Any other questions for Cody? All right, if you do, please put them in the chat, and I'll try to to get to them there. Let me go full screen again with this.
Sorry, I apologize if I ran over, Brad.
No, you're great. That was perfect. Great information. One of the ideas here is to always keep up with whatever the most recent clinical solutions are for patient care, not just for the generating the revenue for the pharmacy to save our community pharmacies and become that health hub again for your community. The big picture here is marketing this out to all the employer groups. So the employers are now directing. Go back to the first thing that I talked about with the RX Spark, and they direct and drive traffic to not only the clinics but also to to your pharmacies as well. They're already connected with a long haul trucking organization that has 3.5 million drivers that need well checks, they need checkups, they need prescription filled, and they're not at home. They're clear across the country, and so they just simply put in their zip code, and they find you, and if you're a participating location, and come to you. So 3.5 million potential customers just with that one group out of the 12 million that they already have signed up. Dr. DeMar?
Yeah, just when I heard the presentation by Cody, I really saw this as being a separate entity from the pharmacy. But really, it sounds like it's going to be co-marketed. And then the question is, are any of the services going to be potentially seen by physician providers as competition per se?
It's a great question. So a couple things. In the short term, the initial, by the way, so to address something you started your sentence, it is a separate entity. It is a separate legal entity within the pharmacy. So it has to be because it is the way from a billing perspective. But still owned by that same, whoever owns the pharmacy still owns this group as well. A lot of the services that we're launching with are the kind of services that many doctors don't have time in their schedules for right now, but know that their clients need and their patients need to get these services. We are not in competition with them. We're actually trying to be helpful and in partnership with them. each pharmacy needs to have a collaborating physician. So we have to empower them to work with the physician network in their area. So it should, at least in the short run, it's a great question. In the short term, the initial services are not in competition with the medical providers.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah. In fact, it's a great collaboration with those providers because they only have time to take care of sick patients right now. They can't do the well care. And so how many of our 65 and older are going without their annual checkups, which we could catch a lot of things early before it becomes a full-blown problem, right? Some of one of the points that I was going to make is whatever the latest and greatest care is for patients is going to be implemented into these wellness centers. Blood analytics, there's a tool that looks at 118 different blood markers. Using artificial intelligence can literally predict disease before it becomes disease. This bioelectromagnetic energy device, I've got a quick demo here on, is the first FDA-approved PEMF device in the world, and Brim has access to it as the only distributor for this into community pharmacies. And it's amazing. It's preventative health, right? Because one of the big problems where disease originates from is inflammation, and inflammation represents about 93% of the diseases come from that out of the 45,000. This reduces inflammation. This increases microcirculation. It's an amazing tool. I'm going to just show you just a real quick example. This is just a really blown up view of circulation in the leg muscle. This is a leg under distress. This is the arterial bringing blood to the extremity. This is one little tiny individual capillary to the left here. You'll see at times where it doesn't even have any blood flow, movement at all because of how restricted it is. That's why as you get older, your hands get cold or numb, and your feet, your extremities, you're not getting enough circulation. On the right-hand side is the venual taking the blood back to the heart and lungs. So you can see at times it stopped completely. After only 3 minutes of stimulation, it is flowing naturally into those capillaries and all parts of your extremities. In 6 minutes of stimulation, it's flooding in. I'm going to pause real quick just to point out here on the right-hand side, these little white vessels, those are your white blood cells. It doesn't produce any more white blood cells. It just makes them more active. And now they can do their job. They're policing the vessel to take care of any issues that they need to take care of. Even though it's making them more active, one of the things it does do is increases the cell energy. So about a 22% in ATP with that, and it lasts for hours and hours. So this 30 minutes after stimulation, so about 40 some odd minutes later, it's still just as amazing as before. So those are some of the really amazing tools that are going to be put into these. People will come, insurance will reimburse similar to physical medicine, where they'll give the patient 10 or 15 treatments. But patients are going to feel so much better, they'll come back and cash pay to be able to get on that bioelectromagnetic device. So just wanted to just give you just a teaser test of some of the high-tech things that are coming. So right here in about 7 minutes is an amazing program. I just put the link in the chat here for that. Looks like Richard also has put it in there, so thank you, Richard. But Damar, Richard, and another gentleman by the name of Phil Singleton will be presenting the prescription for your financial success. We believe that the Brim program and some of the other programs that we bring you are going to generate so much new revenue. You need to really start planning on how do you keep more of that. How do you double your profits with what you're currently doing today? How do you reduce your taxes so that you can keep more of your hard-earned money? And then most of our pharmacy owners may not really be thinking about retirement. You may think you're going to have to work until you can't stand anymore. Well, one way or another, you are eventually going to retire. Whether forced retirement or you hand down your legacy to a family member, or if you sell your investment, at some point you're going to retire, and so you need to plan for that. So want to invite you to that. The link is in the chat. To save the chat, you just simply, if you see where the icons are for formatting, you see the emojis, anywhere in the chat, if you've got that open, you can see where your files, those three little dots to the right of your emojis and all that is how you save the chat. You just simply click on those three dots, click Save Chat. Once this meeting ends, it'll just pop up on your computer and you can go in and access all that information. I also have the chat saved. So if you can't find this or any of the information that it was provided in the chat today for you, please just reach out to me and I'm happy to share that with you. I'll put my contact information one more time up there in the chat so you have that. And my email's there as well if you want to just email me directly. But want to thank Cody for his time in presenting the BRIM program for us today. There are other amazing solutions that products that you need to hear about too. We just don't have time to go into all of them today, but some amazing providers for front-end products. A couple of the favorites are the Breath Rocks you guys have probably heard about. Hopefully you've seen that. We talked about it here on this program, and then Jonathan launched it at NCPA last fall and is going crazy. It's an amazing functional breath mint. We love that new product for your front end. Also, Germs RX, Scott put his contact information in there. This one bottle right here replaces about 60 or 70 bottles of your alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Love this product. Since I've started using this, I have not had a cold, the flu, COVID. It is an amazing pathogen protection. The FDA says it lasts for 4 hours, which means it probably lasts 5 or 6 hours. Your skin literally has to flake it off. It's water-based and non-harmful. So I even wipe down my grandkids with this product when I travel with them to make sure that they're safe. Little kids touch everything. The 3-year-old, if it's not her hands on everything, something's going in her mouth too, and it just horrifies me. So I wipe not only her down, but I wipe the plane armrest, the tray table, seatbelt, everything. I wipe everything down and make sure that she's protected. A great product you guys ought to look into, and Scott's information is in the chat. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Oh, great. Jonathan just put his contact information up in the chat as well. We'll invite Scott and Jonathan back at one of our other roundtables so that they can go more into detail. But yeah, please save the chat. Click on those 3 little dots, or just reach out to me and I'll get you the chat from today as well. If you want to dive into more information and get a full-blown demo on any of the services that were talked about today, please reach out to me and I'm happy to set that up for you. I absolutely love community pharmacy. Will do everything in my power to help you be successful. ServRx doesn't get anything from this. Scott's not giving me a kickback, or even though he always says, hey, Breck, thanks for introducing me. The check's in the mail. No, I don't actually get a check from him. We do this purely because we love our pharmacy partners and we want to do everything we can to help you. If you're not using ServRx, get in contact with me. Let's get you set up. Let's do some marketing for you. Let's get some claims coming in the door, because you might as well get fair reimbursement on at least 1 or 2 of your claims that you're processing through the day. So please reach out to me on that. But again, thank you, and look forward to the meeting that is starting here in 1 minute with Richard. I will see you if you've got time. It'll be a much quicker. They think they're going to only be about a 30-40 minute time frame. So if you can take your lunch and listen in, please do so. I will see you all over there on that new link that was just posted in the chat. Richard, do you want to put it up one more time, or I can real quick?
Sure, I think I've got it right here. Again, let me put it in. Yep, I've got it right there. There it goes.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. We'll see everybody there that can attend this next RX for your financial success. So thanks again, everyone. Take care.